Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you've had a great week so far and a great day today. My name is Kate Watts. I'm a registered dietitian with Cone Health and the Live Life Well team. We are so excited to be partnering with our guest chef, Miss Natalie Hunt of NatPacks. She's going to be doing our whole series this month, so we're going to have 3 awesome classes with her. I'm really excited. Thank you all for joining us again, and if you would like to make this more interactive, which me and Natalie love. We want your questions. We want your comments. We definitely like talking about substitutions and, of course, anything food or nutrition that is on your mind. Please drop us questions and comments in the chat box. You can also use the raise hand button, and I will see that and can allow you to speak if you'd like to ask a question out loud. So any and all ways to get involved. There's also reaction buttons that you can do thumbs up and smiles and all that good stuff. So try to make this as interactive as possible in this virtual setting. So with all that said, we're going to jump right into it. Natalie, I'm going to let you take it away.
Hi guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to bring together everyone and have this opportunity to share a healthy and fresh recipe for you that's still very quick and very easy. Of course, if you have any questions, you can always follow up with us or use the chat feature. And I'm just glad to be here. So one of the first things that I did want to kind of go through is if anyone had any questions on the ingredients or anything that you needed for tonight. But I've already got my water ready. And so we're going to start with 8 cups of water and kind of bring that to a rapid boil. So I'm going to dump that in. I might be a little off screen, but I'm just pouring water. Is there anyone on that's cooking with me? Next up, we're going to go ahead and get our shrimp. I have strained and rinsed my shrimp already. And I'm just going to give that a good shake. And transfer that over to a large bowl.
I was just going to say, I'm cooking with you, Natalie.
Yay! That's wonderful. So have any of you seen this? Has anyone seen this?
No. Where did you get that from?
So I actually created an Amazon list with some kitchen essentials, and this is one of my favorite finds from Amazon. You squeeze these here buttons, and it fills up this reservoir in the top, and it measures out your olive oil. So it makes it really, really easy, and you don't have this big chunky bottle to work with. And so I'm going to go ahead and get our 2 tablespoons of olive oil and dress those shrimp. And then, yeah, it's so easy. So look, it's empty, and then I just fill it up to where I want it. Right. And then in goes 1 teaspoon of onion, and I'm using some dried dill for sauteing the shrimp, and then I'll be following up with more dried as well as fresh. So in it goes. And then also we're going to use the juice of 1 lemon. So with the lemon and the dill, this recipe should be really bright and flavorful. And so it's going to be a great option. And even just making the shrimp alone, it's very versatile. It goes great on a salad. But I love that little bit of acidity and tartness from the lemon, as well as the freshness of the dill. And so if fresh dill isn't available, or it looks kind of not so fresh in the grocery store, you can always use the dried dill option. I'm just going to give these a stir. And then we're going to go back to our olive oil. We're going to heat a little olive oil in our pan on medium-high heat.
Natalie, we've got quite a few people cooking with us. Karen's cooking, Marjorie's cooking. Lisa loves your olive oil device, and Marjorie wants your Amazon item list. So you'll have to give that to me so I can email it out to everybody.
And so I have I have a link tree available, and all of the options for Amazon are on there. And so it's got some great essentials as far as cutting boards, some really great knives. I'm turning something on, but it's not supposed to be on. That's strange. Okay, there we go. Well, guys, I think my stove's being a little silly today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift you guys down a little bit so that I can transfer to the other side of the stove. Give me just a sec. Can you see that second side of the stove if I put you guys here?
Yeah, that looks great.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to transfer my water to the back burner on the far side and then just transition my big, large pan. And then, yes, the olive oil. This is being temperamental today. There we go. All right, that took a second. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and heat up the olive oil, and then once that pan is good and warm, we'll add in the shrimp. And so this is a pretty easy recipe. We're sauteing shrimp. We're gonna give the asparagus a cut into 2-inch sections and add in the asparagus as well as our frozen peas, a little bit more of that lemon juice, and then some extra garlic, some extra dill. And then at the end, it all comes together to make this really nice, flavorful pasta intimidation dish. So has anyone ever cooked with the cassava orzo before?
We've got a couple people that have. Personally, I haven't. I love orzo, but I haven't had the cassava version, so I'm excited for this recipe.
Okay, well, I really like this brand. It's pretty easy. I keep a couple of boxes on hand just for whenever. I did mention down at the bottom of the recipe that you can take any leftovers and add fresh tomatoes and cucumbers as well as any herbs of your choice, and even like jalapenos if you want to go a little spicy route, and it makes a really great dish cold. So this is a great option. It's a good staple to have in the kitchen, especially if you're gluten-free and you're looking for alternatives to flour and traditional based pastas. So my pan is pretty good and warm. My water is getting there. We're getting close. I am going to add just a little salt to that water. So I'm using a pink Himalayan. It's just a great option to have on hand.
Fun fact, Natalie, the Himalayan salt gets its pink color because it's got some iron in it. So just, some of us are concerned about getting enough iron, and that's just a fun little fact.
I think that's great. I know for me, I really like the quality that I've been able to find over traditional table salt. So it really does make a difference when you're cooking the quality of your ingredients. All right, so I'm going to start transferring my shrimp into the hot pan. I'm using 2 pounds of shrimp and 1 package of the orzo. reduce the heat to a low, and we're gonna get all of these shrimp in here and let that cook for a couple of minutes. Our water's still getting close. Shrimp is just such an easy and flavorful option that I have a tendency to keep a couple bags of frozen, high quality shrimp on hand. These I picked up from Lowe's Foods. That happens to be one of my favorite places to go. We all have our favorite grocery store, right? All right. So in the bottom of the bowl for my shrimp, where I added that lime juice and the seasoning, I'm gonna add that into this pan so that we can get all of that flavor and not let it go to waste. While our shrimp is cooking and our water is getting up to temperature, I just wanted to check and see how many people are gluten-free or interested in alternatives to traditional pasta.
While we're giving everyone a chance to type in their response there, we did do a survey, Natalie, and a lot of our responses, we gave some list of topics that they were interested in, and gluten-free was definitely a hot topic that everyone was talking about. Yeah.
I know that it has become more and more of a concern, especially as we gain awareness around the inflammation and the issues that can come from eating a large amount of traditional wheat-based pasta in our diet. So I'm really excited that we now have a lot of alternatives on the market. And so the Casava Orzo, they do a really good job of all of their pasta line. So I've really enjoyed it, and it's really great to cook with. Another great one is Dakota's Natural. That's a great option. And so you just have to play around and figure out which ones you like best. Some are made with chickpeas, some are made with the cassava, and then we also have others that use more of a pea-based protein to create an alternative to a traditional flour. The shrimp are starting to smell really good.
Lisa says that she often does host gluten intolerant guests. And we also had a question about where the Casava Orzo falls, like as far as carbohydrates.
So this is pretty high in carbohydrates. So one serving is 49 grams, which is about 18 or 19% of the daily total, or the daily recommended percentage for a 2,000 calorie diet. However, you can always reduce the serving size, and you can make sure you're getting a lot of plants along with this to make the carb impact much lower. In addition to that, the great thing about cassava is it is very hearty, and it provides a lot of fiber and long-term sustainable energy. So it doesn't impact the glucose insulin system quite as intensely as more traditional based pastas. So if blood sugar levels are concerned, these are good options or good alternatives.
That's awesome. I think Rebecca had a question.
Hey, Natalie, I was wondering, with your shrimp, did you go ahead and put everything, like all of your shrimp in there?
I did.
Okay.
And they're kind of like stacked on top of each other. So we're gonna move them all around so they'll all get cooked very evenly. 2 pounds is quite a bit, but if you've got a nice sized pan, it should be able to accommodate all of those. I'm still waiting on my water, y'all. Oh yeah, these are really starting to look great. So typically what I do when I'm cooking a lot of shrimp in a pot like this is the ones that are starting to get done on that bottom side, I move them up on top, or I move them to one particular side of the pan. So then I know which ones need additional time. Like a little rotation method, I guess you could say. All right, my water is going pretty well now. So we're going to use the whole box of this orzo alternative, or this pasta alternative, which says 4 servings, but they end up being pretty large servings. And this is going to be paired up with quite a bit of vegetables. So you can definitely stretch this to more of a 6 or 8 servings. So this is going to cook just like a pasta, where we're going to get it to a really good rapid boil, let it cook, and then we're going to end up straining it off. All right. So while that is cooking, we'll go ahead and cut our asparagus into those 2-inch sections. So typically this bottom part of the asparagus that pops off really easily, we don't want that. Wherever it snaps, we don't want that. So usually I have a guide and I can tell where to go ahead and cut and not use from. Because the bottom part has a tendency to be very fibrous and a little more tough. So I just go ahead and take the bottom part, and if you're composting, that's a great option, or toss it in your traditional trash. So again, the little area at the bottom after the snap is not really the best part of the asparagus. So we can set that aside. Asparagus are running away. Okay, I'm gonna go back and we'll check on the orzo, give it a little stir. And also give the shrimp another stir as well. These are starting to look really, really nice. But my orzo is moving a little slow because of the water. So I am going to turn this temperature down on the shrimp just a touch to try to keep the pace and wait on that orzo to catch up. But these look great. I also have already opened my frozen peas and have those ready. They've been sitting on the counter for 20 minutes, just at room temperature. And now that we've got our asparagus ready, we're just waiting for the orzo to catch up. So it's a great time for questions if anyone's curious or wants me to talk through some ways to even take this dish a little bit further.
Natalie,
for my
we did have a
shrimp-
question. Oh, go ahead, Rebecca. Go right ahead.
Sorry. For my shrimp, like I do have some, like I tried to pat it dry with paper towels and stuff, but like it has quite a bit of liquid in it. Do I need to drain that out before we add the veggies?
No, ma'am. So that's where a lot of our flavor is going to come from. Once
Okay.
we have, once the shrimp are cooked about 75% of the way, we're going to go ahead and add in our vegetables, and those are going to help absorb a lot of that flavor and that moisture. And so I wouldn't be too concerned with that for this particular dish. If you're wanting a really nice sear on your shrimp, that's when you're going to want to make sure they're patted really dry. But since this is going into a vegetable or into a pasta style dish, and we want that juice, I wouldn't worry about that at all. So once we add in the asparagus and the peas, we're actually going to add more liquid for everything to kind of get all married and happy together.
That's
So
great. Natalie, we also had a question in the chat about when you were talking about how you could stretch the pasta pretty far and like do different portions, you know, for different people and their needs. How long can this store in the refrigerator was kind of the question to go along with that, if they were to portion it into multiple meals.
I recommend 5 to 6 days. And then of course, make sure when you go to eat this dish later, if you're eating the orzo in a dish, that you heat all of the ingredients very well. So I just went ahead and pulled a great little bunch of dill, and I'm gonna give that a tiny little chop. And my shrimp are about 75% done, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in asparagus.
Natalie, one more thing.
Yeah, no.
So I've never cooked with dill before. And so I got some fresh dill, and it says up to a half a cup. So how much of the dill should I put in?
So I'll show you in my hand. I pulled about this much off of those stems that come in the little plastic thing that says half of a cup. But I'm only going to use about half of that in the actual cooking process. The rest I'm going to use to garnish at the end.
Okay.
But back to being able to stretch this recipe even further, you can add in things like cooked kale, you can add in blistered cherry tomatoes or diced Roma tomatoes. You can really get creative as far as what vegetables. Zucchinis go well in this, also go well in this. So there's a ton of great options to really up the veggie content and make a very robust dish.
So did I hear correctly? The dill is actually the garnish. So we're not putting that in to cook with the veggies or anything, correct?
I'm going to use half of it when the veggies go in and half of it at the end for garnish.
Okay.
By adding them in the cooking process, we are going to get a little bit more of that integrated flavor. So I like to have some always at the end as well, just to garnish and kind of add that fresh piece as well. So now I've got my asparagus and my shrimp ready or cooking. Give this orzo another stir. Do a little check. So these should almost end up feeling like cooked rice. So we're not quite there. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in half of that fresh dill and my frozen peas. Because we're using frozen peas, it may lower the temperature quite a bit. So you may want to go ahead and turn your pan back up to medium once you get those incorporated. Yeah, this already looks so pretty. So I put half of the bunch of fresh dill in, and the frozen peas, as well as the asparagus. And next we're gonna add in the additional garlic, the additional lime juice, and I've got some minced garlic here as well I'm gonna add in. So when I'm cooking, a lot of times I have series set timers for me. It helps keep me on track. It helps make sure that I'm keeping my eyes on all the different times that are going on. It's really great that we have these devices close by and we can just say, hey Siri, set a timer for 4 minutes. And we're able to keep an eye on everything. So I added in the lemon juice, I added in the dry dill as well as the garlic. So we're gonna give the shrimp and asparagus another stir. Can y'all see it? Behind that big pot. So if another great option here to stretch this out and to increase your vegetables is to add in cooked kale or cooked spinach. I plan on just serving this over a little bit of raw spinach or a raw kale that I've cut into smaller pieces. But you can always add that in and make everything go a little bit further and have a little more vegetables. All right, this looks delicious. I'm gonna do another check on the orzo. So it should be very tender to the touch. I think we're ready. I'm gonna give the shrimp another stir, and then I'm going to go strain off this orzo and put it all together.
Natalie, we had a question about how much sodium is in the recipe. So looking over the ingredients, to me, it seems like it would just be coming from the packaged cassava orzo, however much sodium is in there. And then of course, how much salt you actually season the dish with yourself. So it seems like a really low sodium dish and also kind of up to your taste preferences. I know you salted the pasta water.
Yeah.
So yeah, can you speak to that stuff?
Yep, you're exactly right. So other than salting the water, I haven't added any additional sodium to the dish. For me, you can always add it, but you can't take it away. And I don't add a lot of salt into my diet. So typically when I'm cooking, that's not something that I include in the recipe or add in. Again, really want to keep these as heart healthy and as possible. And so I really just try to avoid salt wherever I can. How's everyone doing?
Everybody says they're doing great, that it smells really good.
Great.
Question about the spinach. Do we cook the spinach was a question.
I'm not going to cook the spinach. However, that is always the option. You can saute it pretty easily on the side in a separate pan while your other ingredients are cooking. Spinach cooks like that, so it's a great, easy addition to any type of pasta dish or any type of bowl. The kale's also the same way. You can always add in kale, shredded purple cabbage is a great option, or even traditional cabbage. So our orzo is done, and it's like nice, soft, fluffy, tender. It almost has the resemblance of rice.
And Natalie, I think your video went out. Can you check it? It just says
Yes,
your
ma'am.
name. Okay. There it is.
Hey, am I back?
You're back.
Great.
Oh,
I'm not sure.
try again.
All right. Am I back?
Yep.
Yay. Thank you for letting me know. Unfortunately, I can't see you guys' faces. I would love to one day in person. That would be fun. So the orzo is finished. It's got a nice tenderness, but also still a little firm. So the option here is you can add all of that to your orzo and give it a good stir, or you can keep them separate and layer them into a bowl. So for me, I'm gonna just layer my orzo and my shrimp and my veggies over top of the pan. I'm gonna give the shrimp and veggies another stir. If you are, if dairy is okay in your diet, a great option for this dish would even to be adding like a dollop of ricotta to your orzo to create more of a creamy texture. I have now turned off all heat sources. Don't forget about that. So for me personally, one spoonful like this is plenty of orzo. This to me looks like about 2.4 ounces. So I'm just gonna layer that over top of my kale, and then I'm gonna load up on shrimp and veggies. How's everybody doing?
Everybody's doing good. They said it looks like your kitchen is heating up. They
Oh,
can smell
yeah.
all the steam.
I know, right? Obviously, it's very hot. So now that everything is plated, I'm just going to use some of that fresh dill and add a little garnish. Another great option here is using some sliced lemon and doing an additional drizzle to really give this dish the flavor and the brightness. All right. And then, on top of the additional lemon juice, you can always add in some fresh lemon zest. And I am going to top with a few tomatoes. All right. Here's the final product.
Natalie, that looks so good. Everybody says it looks delicious. Can you set it up closer to the camera so we can see?
Yes, absolutely. Let's see if this works.
Oh, perfect.
So there's our finished meal. So I think that has probably about 6 or 7 shrimp, and the majority of that plate is the asparagus peas and the kale that we used. I always recommend adding a good base of a hearty leafy green just to get in your servings of vegetables. For me, I love it, and when I don't have it, I miss it.
Sherilyn says that looks awesome. Lisa said she just took a bite out of her iPad.
Well, I might take a bite out of this if y'all don't mind.
Y'all, Natalie's going to give us the official taste test and verdict. But in the meantime, any questions you have left, go ahead and drop those in the chat or raise your hand.
I'm a fan.
Karen says hers taste wonderful. Thank you guys for the ones of you that were able to cook along. If you weren't, like myself, give this recipe a try as soon as you can. A few things I want to highlight on the nutrition side is this is just such a perfect example of how a really healthy dish can be extremely flavorful. I mean, all the flavor here is coming from heart healthy oils, awesome herbs and spices, fresh herbs and spices, that citrus kick from the fresh lemon and lemon zest. So really using those key things to flavor instead of a really creamy, fat-based, animal fat-based sauce, a really high sodium jarred sauce. I mean, this is just simple and fresh and delicious. And then that lean protein with the shrimp, and then this fun gluten-free option of the cassava orzo. It just, all these parts play together so well. And also with the addition of all those delicious vegetables, you get all that color and added nutritional benefit and a nice balanced plate for your meal. So thank you so much, Natalie. This is a great recipe to start off our National Nutrition Month in March series with. I don't see any other questions. So any last minute questions, comments? Otherwise, sign up for next week. Okay, we do have a question from Rosie. How long would you recommend keeping seafood, poultry, beef in the fridge, such as doing meal preps? So if you want to touch on that again for us, Natalie.
I recommend 5 to 6 days max.
Awesome. Any other questions?
I just want to say thank you so much. And this was such an awesome idea. So thank you to both of y'all.
I'm so glad that you could join us, and I'm really glad to have everyone here. And of course, if you have any questions or you want more great options or ideas, you can always reach out to me. And I'm just honored to be part of the Cone Nutritional Series, and I look forward to having you all back next week.
Thanks, Natalie. Everybody said they really enjoyed the tutorial. Y'all, Natalie runs an awesome business, NatPacks.com. Go check her out. She makes awesome, fresh, delicious meals for you. And then you have them in your fridge for the week. She's able to do tons of personalized options based on your nutrient needs and preferences. So it's a great, great service and all locally sourced stuff. So you really can't beat it. All right, everybody have a great night. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Have a good one.